included the experimental sessions on the practice testing. Participants were tested to see how much they retained of their material they had studied. And you can see the experimental condition here. We've got repeated testing versus the control condition that only studied, didn't do the testing. We got a 21% difference there. And now what we would have to do is do a statistical analysis to see is that size of a difference between my experimental group and my control group statistically significant. How likely would I be to get a 21% difference just by chance? And my guess is it wouldn't be very likely, so my alternative conclusion is it was the repeated testing that caused my experimental group to do better. So participants who were repeatedly tested remembered much more information than students who repeatedly just studied the material. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Some experiments involve extra controls to increase the reliability of findings. Okay, one thing I might want to control for is what we call a practice effect. Subject can improve simply as a function of being tested repeatedly. Okay, this is more of a problem in what we call longitudinal studies. Longitudinal studies follow people up over time, giving them repeated testings to see if they change over time. And it's possible that in studies like that, you could get a testing effect. There was a study in my old textbook that wanted to look at it. It was looking at kind of pseudoscience. And, you know, a lot of companies in our society sell nutritional supplements. You know, there's one out there called ginkgo biloba, which comes from the ginkgo tree. Well, producers of ginkgo biloba have claimed that ginkgo helps your cognitive function. So
it says here it's given.
Okay,
That
that's
particular one is given.
yeah, so it is in your textbook as well. Now unfortunately, like the FDA does not require supplements that don't need a prescription to go through testing to demonstrate their efficacy. But people have done studies of ginkgo biloba where they brought, again, I'm just using these numbers out of thin air, 40 subjects in, 20 take ginkgo biloba, 20 don't. So I give a pre-test on some kind of a topic. The group takes ginkgo biloba for 4 weeks. I do a post-test to both groups. And when we've done that, we found that the group getting ginkgo biloba did not perform significantly better than the group just doing a pre-test and a post-test. Yes?
Actually, it shows on this picture here of a bottle of the pills of it that says it's not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration to do anything.
Right. And again,
They have to, some
again, there
that
is
is on there.
that's again goes back to caveat emptor, buyer beware. You've got to do the grunt work to see whether this supplement, should I take this supplement? Is it likely to help me? But sometimes people can get better just because they're taking a test multiple times. You know what you're going to be tested on. Okay. So yeah, what's a placebo?
Fake substance?
A fake substance. You use these, we always use these in drug studies.
So is it like when I was, like my example for like, when I was saying washing your hands helps clean,
Yeah.
like that fake germ?
Yeah.
Is that a placebo?
Well, what would be the difference there is if, let's say we were testing an antibacterial
Yeah.
soap. Okay, one soap would have an antibacterial agent in it,
Yeah.
and one would just be soap.
Yeah.
Okay, the soap would be the placebo. Do people think the soap is going to work as well as the antibacterial? And I just don't tell them who's getting the antibacterial soap. And that's what's called a blind. Down here you see single or double blind techniques. Now, a single blind technique would be the subject doesn't know who's getting the active drug and who's getting the placebo. And that's to control for what we call expectancy effects on the part of people. Your mind is very powerful. If you think something is going to help you, you're well on your way to it helping you. Okay? And that's what a placebo effect is. Even to the point where we see actual changes in the brain activity of people getting a placebo. Just by thinking it's going to help, you actually get changes in brain function. Question? Okay. Now that's a single blind. Now, the demand characteristics here address subtle cues or signals by the researcher that communicate how I would like you to respond. So if I'm getting a $500,000 grant to do research on the effects of ginkgo biloba by the producers of ginkgo biloba, is it possible that I could do some things that might subtly encourage the people taking ginkgo biloba to do better? It's possible. I don't know. But we may need to control for that. For instance, I did my doctoral dissertation on weight loss. And one of the treatments for weight loss was an appetite suppressant. Okay? So some of my subjects got an active appetite suppressant, and some of them got a placebo. Now, to control for, let's say I'm very anti-drug. I don't want people to have to take drugs to lose weight. Okay? If I know who's taking the appetite suppressant, I may not be as nice or not as encouraging to them. And that's not cool, okay? I can't allow that. So to control for demand characteristics, we may do, and I did this in my doctoral dissertation, a double-blind study, where not only did the subjects not know who was getting the placebo and who was getting the active drug, but I didn't know. So I had to have a nurse randomly assign the subjects to active appetite suppressant and placebo, and she packaged up the medications and gave them to the subject. I didn't have anything to do with that because I need to be kept in line as well. Okay? So there you get a definition of placebo, fake substance, no known direct effects, but can instill expectations in the subject and may cause improvement. Okay? So these are just ways that we need to control for confounding or extraneous variables. Now, are there limitations of experimental design? Okay? And the answer is yes. Experimental designs are often criticized for having little to do with real behavior in the real world, because I'm doing them in a laboratory. And again, we asked that question before, is it possible that people may change their behavior because they know they're being measured? And the answer to that is yes, they could. So that's a potential problem with an experimental design done in a laboratory. Now, more ecologically valid, and we're using the term ecology here to simply mean the real world. So more ecologically valid or generalizable insights can result from natural experiments. I don't want to confuse you here, but a half hour ago we talked about naturalistic observations, where we went out into the playground and we observed those kids in the playground. Now, what we didn't do in that study is we didn't manipulate, there was no variable we manipulated in the preschoolers. We were just looking for how much aggressive behavior is there in preschoolers. And we do an experiment, now we're doing a manipulation. But we can sometimes do those manipulations in the real world. your book talks about a study, I have it here, the study of freshman weight gain depending on where they lived on campus. Sometimes you may have heard of freshman 15,
Yes.
okay? The idea that freshmen sometimes gain weight because they're not as active now that they're in college, so they are gaining weight. Well, what this study was able to do is take incoming freshmen and they could randomly assign them to either living in a dorm that had a cafeteria on the first floor of that dorm versus living in a dorm where they had to walk across campus to go to the cafeteria. Random assignment of subjects either to dorm with a cafeteria, dorm without a cafeteria, and get their weight at the beginning of the year, weight at the end of the year. That's a beautiful design, and what they found was, what did you think they found?
Cafeteria equals more weight.
You live closer to the cafeteria, you gain more weight because you're not burning up calories to go to the cafeteria, and you may go more frequently because it's just down the stairs. Okay? So that's a natural experiment. Impact of naturally occurring event or condition on the study participant. Let me just mention another possibility here. Limitations of a true experiment. Let's say I have the belief that, and we did have this belief years ago, and we still believe it, we know it to be true. Smoking causes cancer. So what we know is there's a high correlation, positive, moderately high correlation between people who smoke and people who get cancer. So, what researchers did is can I go over here to St. Mary's Medical Center and say, okay, the next 500 babies that are born, I'm going to randomly assign them to a smoking group and a non-smoking group, and get the parents of the kids assigned to the smoking group to agree when your kids turn 12, you start buying them 2 packs of cigarettes a day, having them smoke, and we see which kids die sooner.
No.
Can I do that kind of a study? Heck no. Very unethical. So there are some experimental questions we can't address through a true experiment. Now, what researchers did was, okay, they went to Joe's rat farm and they bought 500 albino rats and they randomly assigned 250 of those rats to have a tube jammed down their throat and tobacco smoke was pumped into their lungs, and the other group, a control group, that didn't smoke. And sure enough, these smoking rats got more tumors and cancer and died sooner than the non-smoking rats. What do you think the tobacco industry said about those studies?
Nope, that's
Why
wrong.
not?
They don't want to be shut down or like
I know,
like
but-
idiots.
but
Anything
there-
that would lose them money, they're not gonna.
I know, but smoking in that
Yeah.
group of rats caused them to get sicker than the non-smoking. How do you think the tobacco industry argued against that?
That those were rats. And they
That
were
those were rats, and no matter how some of your
Oh.
acquaintances much resemble rats, rats and people are different species. So they said you can't generalize from rats to people. What the tobacco industry also did, I mean, they fought for decades against buying into the conclusion that smoking causes cancer. Initially, they said the third variable problem. You know what? People who smoke more also tend to drink more coffee. So it could be that demon caffeine that's causing the cancer, not the smoking. Third variable. So you see the limitations here. But basically what happened was, after doing literally hundreds of correlational studies between smoking and cancer, the tobacco industry finally waved the white flag and said, okay, smoking can cause cancer. Does smoking cause cancer in everybody who smokes? No. Again, we don't have a perfect correlation between smoking and cancer. it's about a plus 0.3. So only about 30% of the time is somebody who smokes get cancer, but that's a higher percentage than people who don't smoke. Okay. So these are all limitations of doing research. So know the descriptive methods, the limitations, what a true experiment does, and what it can tell us. Any questions? Okay, so 9:30 tomorrow instead of 9 o'clock, and again, even if I'm a little bit late, hang in here late.
All right, thank
See you
you.
guys then. Thank you.
And then possibly go to like 11:30 or?
No, we'll just still go to 11. What I may do is,